Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive, this time into the world of microplastics
Yeah,
and their potential impact on reproductive health.
right.
As always, you guys, our listeners want to learn quickly but thoroughly, and that's what we're going to try to deliver today.
Absolutely.
We're going to equip you with all the fascinating insights on this important topic, and today's deep dive is based on the article Antioxidants May Fight Microplastics.
Interesting.
We're going to uncover some surprising connections. I think you'll be fascinated by this.
Yeah, I'm excited to dig in and see what we can uncover about how our diet can play a role in mitigating the effects of these microplastics.
So you mentioned microplastics. These things are everywhere, right?
Oh, they are.
Just how concerned should we be?
Every week we ingest about a credit card's worth of microplastics.
Seriously,
Yeah.
credit card.
Yeah, think about that.
Every week.
Yeah, they're tiny. These plastic particles, less than 5 millimeters in diameter, you can't really see them.
Right.
And the problem is they get in our bodies through the air. We breathe the food we eat.
Oh, wow.
It's a big problem.
That is disturbing. A credit card's worth of plastic every week. I mean, no wonder there's so much research going on.
Yeah.
What are scientists most concerned about when it comes to microplastics?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is they can act as what are called endocrine disruptors.
Uh-huh.
That means they mess with our hormones.
Right.
And hormones are like the messengers of our body, right? They control so many functions.
Yeah.
So to have something disrupting them is a big concern.
Hormone disruption, that sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, it is.
What kind of impact are we talking about here when it comes to reproductive health specifically?
Yeah, well, studies are finding that microplastic exposure is linked to a whole bunch of reproductive health risks.
Okay.
For men, we're talking decreased testosterone levels, reduced sperm count quality, even erectile dysfunction.
Wow.
And for women, ovarian damage, lower conception rates, and other issues.
So this is not good.
Not good, no.
But the article that we're looking at today offers some hope.
It does.
Right.
It suggests that certain foods could actually counteract the damage from microplastics.
Interesting. Okay, so the article is called Antioxidants May Fight Microplastics. That's the glimmer of hope.
Right.
What are these potential heroes in our story?
Anthocyanins.
Anthocyanins.
Yeah, you know those colorful pigments that give fruits and veggies those vibrant colors.
Right.
They're powerful antioxidants. And research is showing they may protect us from the harm microplastics can cause.
So we're talking about eating those beautifully colored fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do these anthocyanins actually protect us from the effects of microplastics?
Well, they work on a couple of different levels.
Okay.
First, they help to reduce what's called oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress.
Yeah, it's kind of like an imbalance in your body
Okay.
caused by these harmful molecules called free radicals. Microplastics, they actually increase oxidative stress, which leads to a whole bunch of negative health outcomes, including damage to reproductive cells.
So is it kind of like rust forming in our bodies, and anthocyanins are like the protective coating that prevents that rust?
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
Anthocyanins, they help to reduce that oxidative stress.
Right.
They also help reduce inflammation, which is another way microplastics can really disrupt our systems. And there's this one type of anthocyanin called cyanidin-3 glucoside, or C3G for short.
Okay.
It's been showing some really promising results, especially for protecting both the male and female reproductive systems.
Wow, so it sounds like adding more color to our plates could be a simple yet powerful way to fight back against these microplastics.
Absolutely.
So which foods are we talking about here? Give us the rundown on these anthocyanin superheroes.
Well, you're on the right track.
Okay.
It really is about eating the rainbow.
Okay,
The more vibrant and rich the color, the better.
got it.
So let's start with those berries. Your blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, all excellent sources.
Okay, those are easy to remember.
Right.
Those are good.
Yeah. And then we move on to those beautiful purple and red fruits, plums, cherries, pomegranates, red grapes.
Oh, yeah.
All fantastic choices.
Can't forget the veggies, though. Sometimes we overlook those.
You're absolutely right. Don't underestimate the power of those vibrant vegetables. Purple cabbage eggplant, those gorgeous purple carrots, and yes, even red onions.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that my love of red onion dip is actually a good thing?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
But including red onions as part of a balanced and colorful diet is definitely a step in the right direction.
This is great news.
It is. But we do need to remember that most of the research we're discussing is still in its early stages, and a lot of it is focused on animal studies.
Right.
So while the findings are definitely promising, we need to confirm these benefits through rigorous human studies.
That makes sense. So while we're loading up our plates with all these delicious and colorful foods, we should also be aware that there's still much more to learn about how these findings translate to human health.
Exactly.
Okay, so what else are scientists investigating when it comes to microplastics and their impact on reproductive health? It seems like a relatively new area of study.
Yeah, it is. And there's so much we still need to uncover. For example, researchers are looking at the long-term effects of chronic microplastic exposure.
Okay.
So what happens over years, even decades of continuous exposure? What are the long-term consequences, especially when it comes to something as crucial as reproduction?
Right, and I imagine that's a really complex question to answer considering how many different types of microplastics there are and all the different ways we can be exposed to them.
You're right, it's a multifaceted challenge.
Yeah.
Another area of intense research is trying to understand the mechanisms behind anthocyanin protection. So how exactly do these antioxidants work to mitigate the negative effects of microplastics at the cellular level? Unraveling those intricate mechanisms could lead to even more targeted and effective strategies.
So it's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion here.
Exactly.
Uncovering more complexity with every layer.
That's the beauty of research.
And speaking of going deeper, I remember you mentioned nanoplastics earlier.
Oh, yeah.
What are those exactly, and how do they differ from microplastics?
Well, nanoplastics are essentially microplastics, but even tinier.
Okay.
We're talking less than 100 nanometers in size.
Wow.
1,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair.
That's incredibly small.
Yeah.
Why are they of even greater concern than microplastics? Is it just a matter of size?
Size definitely plays a role. Their size allows them to cross biological barriers that microplastics can't, potentially getting into even more sensitive areas of the body, even disrupting cellular processes.
Wow.
And because they're so tiny, it's even harder to filter them out of our environment and our food supply.
It's like we've opened one door only to discover a whole new hallway with even more doors to explore.
It is.
The more we know, the more we realize we don't know.
That's the beauty of science.
So as we uncover more about these tiny particles, where should research be focused in the future?
Well, one crucial area is transgenerational effects.
Transgenerational effects?
Yeah, we need to investigate whether microplastic and nanoplastic exposure in one generation can have consequences for their offspring.
So we're talking about the possibility that the microplastics we're exposed to today could have consequences for our children and even our grandchildren.
It's a big concern.
That's a pretty sobering thought.
It is, and it really highlights the urgency of addressing this issue.
Absolutely.
As we learn more about these nanoplastics and their potential long-term effects, including this possibility of transgenerational impacts, the need for solutions becomes even more clear.
So we've been focusing on diet as a potential way to mitigate some of these effects, but what other avenues are researchers exploring?
Well, while diet is definitely promising, researchers are also looking at other protective strategies.
Okay.
This could involve developing new materials that degrade more easily, finding ways to filter these microplastics out of our water supply, or even creating innovative technologies to remove them from the environment altogether. We're also looking at improving waste management systems to reduce the amount of plastic that ends up in the environment in the first place.
So it's a multifaceted challenge that requires a multifaceted approach.
Exactly.
It's not just about individual responsibility, but systemic change as well.
You got it. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions. But through research, innovation, and collaboration between scientists, policymakers, and individuals, we can definitely work towards mitigating the risks and protecting the health of current and future generations.
That's really encouraging to hear. So what does all this mean for us, the everyday people trying to navigate a world that's seemingly saturated with these microplastics?
Well, it really highlights the importance of being informed consumers. Staying up to date on the research, understanding the risks, and making conscious choices about the products we use, the foods we eat, can really empower us to make a difference.
It's almost like we have a responsibility to be conscious citizens, not just of our immediate environment, but of this microscopic world that we can't even see.
Well said.
Our health and the health of future generations depends on it.
Exactly.
That's a powerful statement. And now that we've delved into these complexities of microplastics, let's return to those vibrantly colored foods and those delicious anthocyanins.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back after a quick...
Oh.
Wait, we don't do breaks. Let's just keep going.
Okay.
Let's get right back to it.
All right. So we were talking about these anthocyanins, right? These powerful little antioxidants.
Yeah.
And where to find them.
Yeah. So remind us again, what kind of foods?
So think vibrant colors. The deeper and richer the hue of the fruit or vegetable, the more likely it is to be packed with those anthocyanins.
Like eating the rainbow.
Exactly, like you've always been told. But it's more than just pretty colors, right? Okay, different colors mean different types of anthocyanins, and each comes with its own unique set of health benefits.
Oh, interesting.
So let's start with the berries. You've got your blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, all excellent sources.
Those are good.
Yes, and then we move on to those gorgeous purple and red fruits, plums, cherries, pomegranates, those juicy red grapes.
And don't forget about the veggies.
You're right. Don't underestimate the power of those vibrant vegetables.
Okay.
Purple cabbage, eggplant, purple carrots, even red onions.
Red onions.
All of them can contribute to a diet rich in these protective compounds.
Wait, so you're telling me that my love for red onion dip is actually a good thing?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Remember, it's all about balance.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, including red onions as part of a varied and colorful diet, that's a good thing.
This is great news.
It is. But we do need to remember that most of the research we're discussing is still in its early stages, and a lot of it is focused on animal studies.
Right.
So while the initial findings are encouraging enough to make us think more carefully about what we eat, we need to confirm these benefits through human studies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so what else are scientists investigating when it comes to microplastics and their impact on reproductive health? This seems like a relatively new area of research.
It is a relatively new area, and there's a lot we still need to uncover. For example, researchers are looking into the long-term effects of chronic microplastic exposure. What happens over years, even decades of continuous exposure? We need to understand the long-term consequences, especially when it comes to such a critical aspect of human health, like reproduction.
Right, and I imagine that's quite a complex question to answer, especially considering how many different types of microplastics there are and all the different ways we can be exposed to them.
You're absolutely right. It's a multifaceted challenge. Another area of intense research is the mechanisms behind anthocyanin protection. How exactly do these antioxidants mitigate the negative effects of microplastics at the cellular level? Unraveling these intricate mechanisms could help us develop even more targeted and effective strategies to combat the issue.
It's like we're peeling back the layers of an onion, uncovering more complexity with every layer we delve into. And speaking of going deeper, I recall you mentioning nanoplastics earlier. What are those exactly, and how do they differ from microplastics?
Nanoplastics are essentially microplastics, but even tinier, less than 100 nanometers in size, which makes them even more challenging to detect and study. Imagine something 1,000 times smaller than the width of a human hair.
Wow, that's incredibly small.
Yeah.
But why are nanoplastics of even greater concern than microplastics? Is it just a matter of size?
Size plays a significant role, yes. Their incredibly small size allows them to cross biological barriers that microplastics might not, potentially reaching even more sensitive areas of the body and even disrupting cellular processes. They may even be able to cross the blood-brain barrier, a protective shield around our brains. And because they're so tiny, it's even harder to filter them out of our environment and our food supply.
It's almost like we've opened one door only to discover a whole new hallway with even more doors to explore. The more we know, the more we realize we don't know.
That's the beauty of scientific research. It's a constantly evolving process with new discoveries leading to new questions and new avenues of investigation.
And with the discovery of nanoplastics, we're really delving into the microscopic world, which has huge implications for human health. So as we uncover more about these tiny particles, where should research be focused in the future?
One particularly crucial area is transgenerational effects. We need to investigate whether microplastic and nanoplastic exposure in one generation can have consequences for their offspring. Imagine the implications if the plastic we're exposed to today could have an impact on the health of future generations.
Wait, transgenerational effects? So we're talking about the possibility that the microplastics we're exposed to today could have consequences for our children and even grandchildren. That's a pretty sobering thought.
It is a significant concern, and it highlights the urgency of addressing this issue. As we learn more about nanoplastics and their potential long-term effects, including the possibility of transgenerational impacts, the need for effective solutions becomes even clearer.
Absolutely. We've been focusing on diet as a potential way to mitigate some of these effects, but what other avenues are researchers exploring?
While dietary interventions are promising, researchers are also investigating other protective strategies. This could involve developing new materials that degrade more easily, finding ways to filter these microplastics out of our water supply, or even creating innovative technologies to remove them from the environment. We're also exploring ways to improve waste management systems to reduce the amount of plastic that ends up in the environment in the first place.
So it's a multifaceted challenge. that requires a multifaceted approach. It's not just about individual responsibility, but about systemic change as well.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions. But with continued research innovation and collaboration between scientists, policymakers, and individuals, we can work towards mitigating the risks and protecting the health of current and future generations.
It's heartening to hear that researchers are exploring so many different angles to address this problem. So what does all this mean for us, the everyday folks trying to navigate a world seemingly saturated with microplastics?
Well, for one, it underscores the importance of being informed consumers. Staying up to date on the latest research, understanding the potential risks, and making conscious choices about the products we use and the foods we eat can empower us to make a difference.
It's like we have a responsibility to be conscious citizens, not just of our immediate environment, but of the microscopic world that we can't even see.
Well said. Our health and the health of future generations depends on it.
That's a powerful statement. And now that we've delved into the complexities of microplastics, let's return to those vibrantly colored foods and those delicious anthocyanins. We were talking about those blueberries and those blackberries and all those great things.
Yeah.
So let's get back to that. Okay, so we were talking about those blueberries and blackberries and raspberries and all those good things.
Yeah, those berries are packed with those anthocyanins.
So is it really just as simple as, loading up on those berries and we're good to go?
Well, remember, variety is key. Think of it like assembling a superhero team. Each type of berry brings its own unique powers to the fight.
Okay, I like that analogy. Our berry superhero squad.
Exactly. So you've got your blueberries packed with antioxidants to fight inflammation.
Okay.
Then you've got your blackberries known for boosting brain health.
Yeah.
And of course, raspberries and strawberries both contribute to a well-rounded defense system.
And we can't forget about those other colorful fruits we talked about.
Oh, absolutely. Plums, cherries, pomegranates, those juicy red grapes, they're all in.
And the veggies, too.
Right, purple cabbage, eggplant, purple carrots, even those red onions we talked about.
Yeah, so by incorporating all these different colors into our diet, we're not just making our plates look pretty, but we're also giving our bodies a diverse range of antioxidants to help defend against those microplastics.
Exactly. It's like giving your body a fighting chance.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive today, what's the one thing you'd want our listeners to remember about microplastics and what they can do to protect themselves?
I think the most important takeaway is that while we're still learning about the full impact of microplastics on human reproduction, there's promising evidence that those colorful anthocyanin-rich foods might offer a potential line of defense.
It's a simple step we can all take.
Exactly. And it's a reminder that sometimes the simplest solutions, especially those rooted in nature, can be the most effective.
Absolutely. So next time you're at the grocery store, remember to grab those blueberries, red onions, maybe even try something new like purple carrots. Your body will thank you.
Good advice.
Right.
And as you enjoy those delicious and vibrant foods, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
Considering how widespread these microplastics are, what other everyday choices can we make to minimize our exposure?
That's a great question.
It could be anything from choosing reusable water bottles and containers to advocating for better waste management policies in your community.
Right. Small changes can make a big difference.
Exactly.
Well, that's a great point. It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in protecting ourselves and our planet from the potential harm of microplastics. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the microscopic world. And until next time, stay curious and keep eating that rainbow.